So last night there was more primaries, and the Democrats really came out in numbers, but the purge still continues of both parties. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at what happened last night and kind of work it into what's been going on in the overall narrative. So last night we had primaries in 4 states. We have Vermont, Connecticut, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. Most of these, Vermont, Connecticut, and Minnesota, is very blue states. And if you actually look at the numbers, the Democrat turnout pretty much doubled up the Republican turnout in most of those states. So we're really going to end up focusing kind of on Wisconsin just in the analysis portion of this, because the Republicans and the Democrats actually ran pretty even. I believe there was about a 50,000 difference in the governor, and there was a 1,000 different person difference in turnout for Paul Ryan's seat. So those were the kind of the two big races that people were watching in those two states, or out of those states. But Wisconsin is really the one battleground state out of the 4 that did it yesterday. But because of this, what we're getting is a lot more blue wave talk because of the turnout. If you look in some of these districts that have been going throughout the primaries, the primary turnout has almost been at presidential levels. I haven't been able to go through every single one of these districts and kind of pull the numbers between last night and, presidential turnouts in the past. But this is what's ended up being reporting. And you're actually seeing where they're starting to say more states are leaning blue, like in the Fox News power rankings and on CNN. And this is all due to turnout levels after Tuesday's primaries. But if you look at it really, yes, Vermont, Connecticut, and Minnesota doubled up Republican turnout, but this is kind of normal for those. Those are heavily blue states. And in the one battleground state of Wisconsin, you really had an even turnout. So let's kind of look at what also happened in these primaries and kind of pass the numbers. So it was really kind of a purge on the Republican side continues. It's a movement away from the George Bush era of Republicans to kind of the Trumpism view of politics in the Republican Party right now. And everybody Trump's endorsing is getting elected. They're blowing people out by huge margins. Even if they were the underdog candidate, they're coming back. They're jumping dozens of points in the polls. And even if he does it just the night before, and, Kobach, we also got news last night that he officially kind of beat the sitting governor of Kansas. And that does not happen normally. So there's really a purge in the Republican Party. And if you go and look at the Democrat side, when I woke up in the morning and some of the coverage was happening, it was all about the diversity of the candidates. I wasn't actually hearing about turnout. I wasn't actually hearing about what they were talking about. All it was diversity. It was the first Muslim woman was kind of chosen in a primary. There was a transgender guy running for governor. And it was really kind of a celebration of diversity. You know what? Congratulations to all those people who won. It takes a lot of effort. And actually, people like Alexandra Cortez really kind of inspired me to start up these videos. So, you know what? They ran good races. They got good turnout. Congratulations to all of them. I mean, honestly, I hope none of you win, because once I started seeing your platform, after the diversity kind of talk kind of died down, when it hit a little bit more in the afternoon, you started being able to see things about the platform. And this was kind of the socialists taking off the mask. Now, they're not talking about Venezuela socialism, or at least they're trying not to. They're trying to talk more. They're trying to turn European and kind of Chinese socialism, where it's kind of a takeover of some of the economy, but they're really trying to leave this capitalistic engine in place to try to pay for a lot of social programs. And if you look at their programs, really to pay this off, you're really talking between 70 and 90% taxes. And this really kind of goes back to this idea that we had this great booming economy after World War II, and we had between a 70 and 90% tax range, but the economy was still booming and roaring. What these people are failing to remember is that after World War II, the rest of the world was destroyed. There was no powerhouse industry in Southeastern Asia. Europe had no money. They were bankrupt. The whole infrastructure, everything was destroyed from World War II, all the way from the west to the east. And the United States was the only industrial power left. We were literally rebuilding the world, and we were the only people in the world that could do it. If we try to do that now, we're going to be outcompeted by almost every nation on earth. So that's kind of where this misconception is kind of coming from. But getting back to the elections, really, this is kind of going back to a lot of people are disenfranchised inside the Republicans just because they feel like their leaders over the last 2 years haven't been supporting their candidate. But with the new batch of kind of Republicans that are coming out this midterm, the purge of the Republican Party, whether there's a red wave or a blue wave, is going to be complete after this midterm. And the holdovers like the Mitch McConnells and some others that aren't up for election this time are either going to have to go along with it, or I can see them retiring by the time their next election comes up and not running. And this is kind of the takeover of the Republican Party that you've been hearing people talk about, that Trump's been taking over. So Trump's approval numbers have been on the rise as well. And we're actually in the next video, because as I was digging into this, I started making some connections about what's happening in the news coverage with the Omarosa and John Brennan pivot that ended up happening. So look forward to that in the next video. But his approval numbers are back up to 50%. And if you watch the mainstream media, what they're saying is this is a Rasmussen poll, but what they're not telling you is that Rasmussen was actually one of the more accurate polls that happened in 2016, and has actually happened in other presidential elections. They've been very good at kind of calling these elections. So I think that is a poll that we can take a modicum level of support, although other polls will still have them in the mid 45s. They tend to lag behind Rasmussen. So we'll kind of end up seeing where that goes. And what it really brings into is when the primaries come up, is the silent majority that Trump kind of talked about and rose up to support him in the 2016 elections, do these people who are kind of moderate voters, are they excited about primaries? Are they coming out to vote in a Republican primary? And will they come out in November? If they do, you really will see a red wave happen, and it will be unexpected, and there will be meltdowns in the mainstream media. If they don't, the enthusiasm level amongst the Democrats continues, you will see a blue wave. And what's really going to happen is, with the purge that has been taking place in the Republican Party through these primaries, if the red wave happens, Trump's going to be full steam ahead. You think things are moving at a quick pace now? This is with a Congress that won't even help him. If he gets a Congress that is not only willing to help him, but is enthusiastic about it, and has an even larger majority, it is really going to be get out of the way for the resistance. Trump will transform this country, because once 2020 happens, you could see another wave election like you did with the second term of Reagan, maybe a 40-plus state victory for him. And the country will be transformed at that point. What that transformation will be, we're still kind of looking into. And again, making more connections. That's going to be in a little bit later follow-up video to this one. If the blue wave happens, expect a shutdown, more or less. You know, it's going to be constant investigations into the president. You're not going to see any legislation get moved at all. And I believe Trump will try to basically go to war, and we'll be waiting for the 2020 elections. So that's kind of my analysis of the primary system so far and what happened yesterday, kind of the battleground state of Wisconsin. Things were really, really even, and you had high turnouts in the blue states. So is this a concentrated blue wave where you're going to see Democrats really sweep up in their states, and kind of the battleground states kind of run even, and the red states go heavily for Trump? So we'll see how all this works out. and kind of what waves go on, but we'll keep updating this and keep following this as more and more primaries happen. So next I'm going to do a video on kind of the media coverage in the Omarosa and kind of the pivot to John Brennan and why they did it and what the whole reason for all of this was and how this fits into the larger narrative. So hopefully see you in kind of a part 2 of this video. And go ahead, like, subscribe, check out our Twitter page, check out our Facebook page, and go ahead and, if you like this video, go check out my Patreon page and help me develop into getting better technology and really kind of building this dream that I'm having right now of building a website and a news site that people will be able to go look at state by state and country by country American policy and how it affects you. So, you know, that's kind of what I'm trying to do with this channel, is try to inform people about politics and how all this kind of affects their lives, like why politics matters. So go ahead, like and subscribe, share this channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.